Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is, what is abundance really? When we think of abundance, I think most of us are thinking of excess. And we're going to explore what abundance is, what its essence is, and what it is to experience abundance. So before we get started, we're going to take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Enlightened World Network, and welcome, Rosalind. So great to have you all here with us this morning. So today we're talking about abundance. What is it really? When we think of abundance, I think most of us are actually thinking of excess, like more than enough, because we have this notion of enough as scarcity somehow. And when we think of enough, like really enough, is there's a sense of satiety, a sense of connection, a sense of fullness, and maybe like a delicious satisfaction, right? And let's look at what abundance is. We often also tie it to money. So I want to talk a bit about money and our relationship to it and what it's become in our culture and how we might recreate it. I thought about naming this morning's conversation something about money, but we can use this in the context of abundance. So I was speaking with someone yesterday who is experiencing the most extraordinary magic in their life with incredible connections, incredible opportunities. And although they're not having a lot of money at this moment in their hands, they're they're flying all over to different opportunities, having people provide them with lodging and food and amazing opportunities. So I'm thinking, this is Sue says, great topic, so timely. We have so many gifts in our lives: friendship, creativity, and nourishment, so much abundance. Exactly, exactly. And I think one of the ways that we get in our way of experiencing abundance is by having a very narrow definition of what it means. And so this person is essentially experiencing dreams come true on so many levels, and experiencing tremendous abundance. And then they said, and then, but money, which I think is something that a lot of us can fall into, is negating the abundance that we actually have in our lives, because it doesn't look exactly the way that we want it to look, or that we think it should look. So I want to talk about money, because in our culture, money has become, in many ways, a tool of domination and control, and a tool for othering, and for all kinds of abuses and manipulations. And I think, I mean, if we go back to the purpose of money, it's an exchange. It's a vehicle of exchange. And we've spoken about how the map is not the territory. Like if I draw a street map, it's not the streets, it's a representation, right? Well, that's what money is. Money is a representation of value. It's not a value in and of itself, it's a representation of value. And what has happened is that we have gotten misdirected. We have gotten misdirected by believing that the money is the thing instead of the representation. And if we can look at what the money is a representation of, we could imagine what we would like money to become is a representation of a sacred exchange. And so if we can feel into that, rather than debasing this, making it purely transactional, when we spend money, maybe we can look at how we're creating an exchange and bring appreciation, bring presence into that exchange, to be sharing the abundance of it with one another. I have a friend who is bringing forward a new paradigm around money, and looking to cleanse money through ceremony and presence. And I think, as I feel into it, that the foundation of that cleansing for each of us can be by connecting to money as a vehicle rather than as a thing. So it's a transmission. When we exchange money, it's a transmission. For years and years, I've heard people say money's energy. But the thing money is a representation. It's almost like we can make it sacred. What would it be like if we made the exchange sacred, not the hoarding of the thing itself, but made the exchange sacred? What my experience, as I feel into that, and I invite you to as well, is that there's an expansion. There's a connection of heart There's a deeper integration, a greater coherence. And to be exchanging that money with awareness and presence, there's a whole different experience of it. If we imagine it as a sacred exchange. I think that there's a lot of healing that gets to go on around money. It's not that money has its own inherent energy. It's that our culture has made it into a thing rather than like our culture's made it into the territory rather than the map. And so if we can imagine abundance as a flow of exchange, not just with money, but in relationship, as I'm thinking Sue pointed out, that we have so many gifts, that we have friendship, there's an exchange of caring and compassion. We have creativity, which is an exchange of energy, where we become a vehicle for the energy that is creating through us. So the exchange isn't necessarily one that needs to be reciprocal either. Because, for instance, with love, when we give love, we're gaining the enrichment of that experience as well, right? So it's not necessarily like a one for one kind of, I'm giving this to you, you give it to me. It's maybe even we can view it as gifting, not even just exchange, but flow. That there's an ebb and a flow, that there's movement, that there's vitality, that there's aliveness. It's interesting. I was meditating and meditating on abundance, and there was all this energy, money, abundance just flowing around, and it was there to whenever it was needed. There was always plenty. So abundance is the lack of need, that satiety that we just were talking about in the beginning, knowing that it's always there, having appreciation for it being there, but knowing that it's always there. It's there's a sense of maybe safety. When there's abundance, there's an ability to just take a deep breath and relax. And the interesting thing is that when we're feeling lack, we're bracing ourselves, we're constricted and contracted and not allowing that flow. So what we're looking to do is to reinforce the flow, which ironically isn't about force at all. It's about relaxing into it. There's a sense of trust, a sense of ease when we experience abundance, and a joyfulness, a gratitude. Because we can have a lot of stuff, we can have a lot of money, even, and not experience abundance. We can be in tremendous lack. There are lots of wealthy people, very wealthy people, who experience anxiety and fear around money. They're not experiencing the abundance. And so much of the reason that we want means lack, by the way. Like when we're wanting, we're identifying what's missing, right? But we want more because we think that that's going to give us that peace and that sense of trust. What was beautiful about this conversation with this person yesterday was that they said they actually lost everything. They lost, because they had no money, they lost their company that they had been holding on to with for dear life for years. They lost it, and they struggled and they fought against that, and then they lost it, and in losing it, it just sort of broke everything open for this flow of abundance, because there was just this surrender. It's like finally, like it was all gone. So that kind of left room for things to reshape and reform in absolutely unpredictable, magnificent ways. So I'm not a big fan of the word surrender, because I grew up with the Wizard of Oz, and to me, surrender is surrender, Dorothy, from the Wicked Witch of the West. So surrender's not the greatest word for me, but allowing ourselves to um, relinquish our hold, to hold with open hand, so that there can be this flow, because we live in an abundant universe, and we know that we can create these feelings. One of the reasons, the real reason that we keep wanting more and more, is because what we're really desiring is this sense of peace and satiety and trust, and a sense of comfort enough that we can take a deep breath, that we can feel gratitude, that we can be okay. And I think this is a timely topic, because so much of our we think, we're so conditioned to think about abundance in terms of financial wealth, and there are all kinds of there's all kinds of chaos and upheaval around financial holdings right now. And so it can throw a lot of folks into panic pretty readily, because we identify our security with our finances. I get it. And yet we can cultivate this trust and this open hand holding, such that we can allow ourselves to be in the greater flow of things, to be in the greater flow of energy, to be allowing ourselves to receive. Because when we get frightened, again, we're constricted, and we're creating this barrier of protection around us so often, right? And it stifles the flow. It staunches the flow. It stops it. And it makes it impossible for us to be receiving because we're so lost in fear. So it may be counterintuitive to step into ease, to step into breathing and being present and finding gratitude, releasing the desperation, releasing the fear, taking a deep breath and relaxing our shoulders, opening our heart, creating greater coherence and alignment rather than being fractured and frenetic, to be cultivating a trust in life happening for us and through us. Because when we do that, miracles happen. Unreasonable, often unimaginable kinds of miracles and opportunities open up to us. And that's abundance. Truly being in the flow of life is abundance, not the collection of things or money for that matter, right? Because so much of that comes from scarcity. When we forget to breathe, when we look at what we don't have, when we define needs that are often wants, and they are often manufactured desires. How many other people besides me have decided I have to have a certain thing? I get it, and then it's like, okay, it's not important anymore. But it was something I had to have. Once I had it, it was like, oh, so what? Great, now I've got it. What's the next thing I want? Right? That's not abundance. Abundance is if we can imagine, if we can put ourselves in a place where we can say, I could have anything I want, and I don't really want anything. There's nothing I want or need right now. I think that is true abundance, being in that kind of presence where we're full, where we're good. Like right here, right now, this is great. I don't need anything. And to find the gratitude for that and the allowance of all the magic to flow in and through with open hand. So I wonder if you can allow yourself to sink into that feeling, because it's not the things that are going to give us that feeling. It's our allowing ourselves to have that feeling that will give it to us, because we can have that, we can conjure that in any moment by presencing ourselves, by becoming more coherent, by relaxing our shoulders, by breathing into our bellies, by just allowing ourselves to be in the abundance of life itself, to connect without need. Like we can make requests without need, without the grasping, without the clawing for something. So it's kind of like making a request, feeling the emotion for having experienced the having of whatever it is, feel the emotion of it, and then let it go, because it's there. It's already there. I know it sounds kind of, well, it's more than counterintuitive, right? That it's the ease in the experience of the having, regardless of the physical circumstances, that mobilizes the physical circumstances. It's kind of not wanting anymore, but having, having the experience of having, rather than the wanting, which is an affirmation that that thing isn't there yet. Where is it? When's it going to get here? It's not on my timeline, right? The impatience, the yearning, all of that in its way, ironically, is pushing it away. It's funny how that works, because we are energetic beings ultimately. And what we're talking about is the energy of wholeness, right? The energy of being complete, being complete. That's what real abundance is: being whole, being complete. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is a blessing and a privilege. Welcome, Kira. Kira says, I love the way you express this. Thank you so much, Kira. I really appreciate the feedback. It's always, always a privilege to have the opportunity to share these morning musings with you as we share in our human experience. So